it has been busy. These projects are they're difficult because obviously you're working with so many different people and trying to get it done to a strict deadline. It is interesting, but no, it's all come together really well in the end. How about you? You been all right?
Yeah, been really busy with ROX, but I can't believe it. This is the third one you've done now, isn't it? These 50 series.
Yeah, it's gone really quickly, and I guess the way they were kind of the dates that they were released are quite close together, even though it's over 3 years. And it does feel like as soon as we kind of got to grips with one release, we already have to start working on the next one. So we're already knee deep in the next one of these. So this is quite nice now to see it all coming together, and I'm a bit of a stickler for like collections, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of maybe like 10 years down the line, we'll have a collection of these records on our shelves, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're keeping ours together, so that they look cool together. Because then you always pay so much attention to the cover and inside, and it, you know, even as far as reproducing, you know, like the vinyl, it's just really nice packages every time. You never disappoint.
Yeah, that I think that's important. Because it's my partner Sarah does all the artwork, and she's really fastidious when it comes to, you know, looking at the old vinyl labels and just even just the kind of layout of everything. I mean, we're still waiting for the vinyl of this Budgie release to arrive. It's supposed to arrive on Friday, so hopefully it's going to come today. But I can't wait to see what that looks like, because you know, I like to put it against the originals as well, you know, and kind of compare the difference.
Because it was Roger Dean, of course, that did the original cover.
It is, yeah, beautiful cover as well. And it was a shame he didn't do all the Budgie covers, because they do have a certain look about them, don't they?
They do, yeah.
And also it's different to a lot of Roger Dean's other stuff. The work he's done for Budgie seems to have a little bit of a different flavour, I think.
Yeah, maybe that's the kind of the influence of the band, you know, like Mouse and Rogers stuff is Yes, and bands like that. They want really sort of grandiose album covers, whereas Budgie was a lot more down to earth.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, Yes was kind of otherworldly.
Yeah.
And Budgie's a lot more like the band. They're a bit more kind of spit and sawdust, aren't they?
They certainly were. So, talking of Budgie, what made you choose this album, Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, as the 50th anniversary project for this year?
Okay, well, originally we had a couple of other albums in mind, for a number of different reasons, and I kept coming back to Budgie, although Tim, the other guy in the label, he's never had like an affinity with Budgie, whereas I've grown up with it. And originally we were going to go for Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John.
Yeah.
Which again is a classic album, one of my favorites. You know, however, when we really started to look into the financials, and because it's such a big album, and also the tracks on it, it's like, oh my god, this is almost impossible to do, because I mean the album itself is so diverse. I think we would have ended up working with too diverse a range of artists, and it wouldn't have felt cohesive. And then what was the other album? There was another album we were thinking of doing. I can't remember. It was ZZ Top. It's the Tres Hombres. And again, great album. However, we both kind of came to the conclusion that there's already enough labels doing that kind of thing. You know, because it would be easy for like a kind of a label that leans towards kind of psychedelic stoner 70s rock would do an album by ZZ Top. It's too easy.
Yeah.
You know? It's too easy, and I think so far we're trying to, with obviously our first one was Alice Cooper Killer. That was a very iconic album, kind of overlooked. I still think it's overlooked in the kind of pantheon of rock classics.
Certainly is, yeah.
then obviously the second one we did was Ziggy Stardust by Bowie, which I thought was even though it's a famous album, I think it was a left field choice because it's not the kind of thing you associate with hard rock. It had that kind of concept, and obviously David Bowie is similar to Alice Cooper in some ways because they're both they're like playing characters, and they're, I don't know, they're more than the kind of sum of its parts, if you know what I mean. And Budgie just struck me as, now there's an underdog band,
absolutely,
who are loved by so many people, and yet never ever get mentioned really in the scheme.
No, they don't.
And also, it kind of felt to me like Budgie were the kind of band who sabotaged themselves on so many occasions. They did it on purpose. I think they got a bit of a kick out of it. There's so many things they could have done differently, and which may have helped their career. They just didn't, and I quite like that.
It's that Welsh humbling thing, isn't it? In a way.
Yeah, I mean, you see some of the really old footage, and they're literally playing all the social clubs around the mining towns. They're just a bar band, and I really like that. And obviously, being a three-piece, there's no, you can't hide in a three-piece. You have to be, you have to be like well trained and kind of gigged in. And the reason why I chose this album in particular, because it's not my favorite Budgie album. I think my favorite Budgie album is In for the Kill. But Never Turn Your Back on a Friend for me is probably the most iconic. I think the songs on it, they probably show Budgie off in the best light because it's a real mix of their kind of style, their influences. It's not heavy metal. It's not strictly rock. It's not pop. It's them. And I think this album in particular is the iconic album in their catalogue.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned how iconic that album is, and many Budgie songs, and of course, Bread Fan, absolute classic, and covered, it's been played by just about everybody, I think, including the Metallicas. So, do you think it has a long-lasting legacy, even though they were always the underdogs? And do you think there is a DNA, if you like, that they planted a seed in the rock and metal world that other people followed, even though they might not give Budgie credit for?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's like an indirect, or almost subconscious influence. Yeah, because you listen to the songs like obviously like Bread Fan, and obviously earlier songs like Guts. They're heavy, really heavy songs.
They are,
and robust, I think is the word. And he's got such a distinctive voice as well, because he's not your typical, rock front man. He's got a very high pitched, so you can compare his voice to stuff that happened in the prog scene later on.
Yeah, with Geddy Lee for being a prime example. Yeah.
And also a lot of the kind of, because I'm a singer myself, a lot of the melodies he hits, they're almost jazzy. He kind of goes for the kind of the jazzy notes rather than the obvious rock notes. And there's a lot of female influence in the way he sings, which I really admire. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, part of doing this is our little contribution to keeping the Budgie. I mean, what was really sad is that literally the day after me and Tim finally decided, okay, let's go with Budgie. Tim didn't feel as strongly about it as I did, but he accepted the kind of the importance of it. And literally the day after, we heard that Burke Shelley had died, and then so again, it's kind of like it's poetic, but it's also like, well, this is our chance to kind of just maybe hopefully introduce a few people. And hopefully it might make them go back and revisit their catalogue, because their catalogue is quite poorly managed. I think their catalogues, you can't find it online.
No,
they're not on Spotify. I mean, they're on YouTube, but obviously I don't know how legal that is. Yeah, so hopefully at some point someone's going to take their catalogue seriously and and give it the love it deserves, I think.
Absolutely. What would you say? I'm putting you on the spot here, but what would you say is your favourite Budgie song?
I think my favourite Budgie song is two: Napoleon Bonaparte's 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I just love the riff on it. I just think it's a really hard rocking riff. Obviously, it's not on this album. This album, I think my favourite thing on this album is "You're the Biggest Thing Since Powdered Milk."
Very Budgie.
All their song titles are just ridiculous, but I think that's a great song. And that, again, that's just that's the power trio in full flight, I think. I mean, what about you? Have you got a favourite Budgie song?
Oh, mine's very later. It's from the later period. Panzer Division Destroyed. Again, not off that album, but it's off a much later album. And I just think that, especially when it was done live, it was such a roaring song. And
which album's that on?
Oh,
I've got
just after they replaced the guitarist. I can't think.
Oh yeah,
it should be around 81-ish. So they performed it live at Reading in 82. So
that's right. Yeah,
it's just such a building song that.
Oh, hold on, I think I've got it here.
The other one I love is Crash Course Brain Surgery.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Metallica did that as well, didn't they?
They did, and, yeah.
I guess that must have been a kind of shot, a shot of adrenaline in their arms when you know, Metallica had done that. So it was quite cool because obviously Metallica were they were dipping their toes into the early stuff. Like I remember they did they covered a song by Jaguar. Do you remember Jaguar?
I do, yeah.
And they're a band I know personally. They used to come to our studio, and I remember them saying that was a massive boon for them because suddenly interest in the band really spiked again later on in their careers. And I'm sure the same applies for Budgie. And I do think their covers were really good as well. There was a lot of love.
They did, yeah, and they kind of brought it into the consciousness, as you say, of a new generation who will have heard it and then thought, who did this originally? And it's amazing. Talking about the 50th anniversary special that Pal Wizards are doing, how did you go about choosing the bands, or did some of the bands approach you and say, "Oh, well, we really want to do this"?
A little bit of both. Some of the bands are bands that I've met on the road, and you know, they either I've listened to the song and thought, you know what, I think they'd be good for that. So some of them are bands that we've admired from afar. So when it came to, I really wanted ALUNAH on the album because we'd worked with them previously on the Alice Cooper one. They'd done a bonus track on that, and I just thought, well, you know, they're a great band, and I think it would be cool to have a female voice in here because obviously Burke Shelley's voice is up there, so it kind of lends itself to a
does, yeah.
And when I contacted them, they basically came back and said, we want Breadfan, Breadfan.
Yeah.
And of course I expected every band to say they want Breadfan. At first I was like, well, okay, just bear with me because I can't give it to everyone.
Yeah.
But they were very insistent. You know what? I thought, well, you know, let's let them do it. They really knocked it out of the park. And then there was another female fronted band that I've played some gigs with, really nice guys called Regulus. And they did You're the Biggest Thing Since Powdered Milk. And I think she did a great version of that as well. And and the other bands, Admiral, so Cloudesly, Shovel, I've you know, done lots of stuff with them in the past, and they're always.
Yeah.
I love what they do because they record everything on I think it's an old 16-track tape recorder, basically. He doesn't even have email, so he can't email me the song when he's done. He sends it to me on CD in the post with a little handwritten note, and it's, you know, saying, "Oh, here's our, you know, whatever he says." I won't repeat, but you never know what to expect with them. But they're that kind of they actually wear their influences on their sleeve, and so their influences are that kind of early 70s garage psychedelic heavy rock, and it sounds because they record it in the same way. They use no no modern technology, and I love that. So yeah, the rest of the bands, it's mostly people I've known. We met a band from America called Great Electric Quest, and they were suggested to me by Tony Reed from Moss Generator, who he's done lots of us, and he masters all our releases. And he said, "Oh, they'd be a great band to use," and they were, and that was cool as well, just to get some American voices on the record who also have a deep love for Budgie. It's quite nice to see across the pond.
Absolutely, yeah.
Budgie word, and a lot of the interest we've had has been from America actually, so that's been really nice to see. But yeah, it's mainly friends of friends, or people on the road, and obviously we have to be a little bit selective about who we use, because not all bands are suitable. There were some bands we contacted, some bands who just said we don't really know Budgie, so there's no point us trying to use them if they don't have some kind of connection with the band.
I assume it's coming out on vinyl, CD, digital download. Are you doing the coloured vinyl thing again?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, you do a stunning job. And girls and boys, if you're listening and you want to buy this album, and do buy this album, get the coloured vinyls, because they look absolutely stunning.
Yeah, we always kind of we always go for the gatefold sleeve, and we like to have the extra artwork in there. Obviously you'll be getting one in the post, so don't worry.
Oh, thank you very much. Look forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, so the cool thing about the 50 Years Later series is we like to release them exactly 50 years. So on the exact date. Now the problem with this album is the only date that we had was June 1973. We asked around all of the Budgie fan groups, the Maiden lists. No one could give us an exact date. It's just not known. I guess back then the album just kind of started appearing in the shops.
Yeah,
there wasn't like a release date. So to give ourselves the most amount of time to make sure we're not late, it's coming out on the 30th of June. So it's coming out exactly
30th of June, and people can pre-order it.
Yes,
now, can't they?
Yeah, if you go on the Bandcamp or our official store, palewizard.co.uk, CD, digital, vinyl, even the CDs. There's a lot of love put into the CDs as well, because we still love that format too. They all come with a nice booklet and with lots of liner notes and things like that. And obviously the CD also comes with bonus tracks, which is quite cool.
It does indeed. Yeah, 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame we can't get those on the record, but obviously you're limited to how many minutes.
Vinyl.
And we wouldn't want to. The vinyl's the vinyl for me. It's side A, it's side B.
Yeah.
And if I think if the track listing changed from the original, I think it would ruin what we're trying to do, I think.
Yeah, it's nice that you keep it how the band set the pacing of the original album. And you always do such a great job.
Thank you.
Would you ever consider? I think I mentioned this last year, but I'm going to keep plugging away at you, because I am stubborn that way. Would you ever consider doing like a Pale Wizard celebration of classic songs, and as like a tour, you know what I mean, or even just a few dates? Get some of the bands together, and because I'd love to hear that.
I mean, it sounds great, doesn't it?
The logistics, I know, I appreciate would be.
I mean, there's definitely something we could do. I mean, obviously, so far, if you add the amount of bands that we've worked with, it's getting on for 40 bands.
Yeah, it is.
It is mad. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to do that. There's lots of things I'd like to do. There's other releases aside from 50 Years Later that I think could be quite fun. Those the old K-Tel records.
Yeah.
Like 30,
30
random tracks. Sometimes it was performed by a covers band, wasn't it? You know, so
it was, or it was like a single edit of them with all the best bits cut out.
Yeah, I'd like to do. It would be quite cool if you did like you could do 1970, 1971, the hits of 1970, and it can be anything. It could be the Carpenters, it could be, you know, Bee Gees or Bay City Rollers, but get some really cool bands in. I like the idea of that. I like the idea of we do another series called Beyond the Pale, and so that's where we get 2 bands to cover a artist. So our band, we did a Kate Bush song with Tony Reid. So I'd like to get more bands to do that. We're working on a Bjork one. We're hopefully working on possibly a Carpenters one, actually, which I think would be really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's always interesting for me, is when you swap the genders of the singer, it forces the song to do something different. And so when we do covers, I really enjoy singing female-fronted songs, because I might have to change the key, which changes the mood, and then you get something. You know, it's not just a cover version; it can be, you know, something a little bit deeper. But no, I love your idea of taking it on the road. I'm just I don't have the mental capacity to do it at the moment. I'm so busy.
At least you're honest.
There's only so many hours in the day.
Oh, I know.
Do you get to go out to gigs much?
We do. I mean, we're sort of we're going out every now and then, but we're just snowed under at the moment. So.
Yeah, and it's hard, isn't it? Because you can't do everything. Everything's so expensive. Well,
it is. Talking of that, I mean, I hate to raise that horrible B word, Brexit. Has that impacted? I mean, I love hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, because you hear that much propaganda. It hasn't affected anybody, and everybody's doing great. But has it affected the music industry as badly as people are saying?
Well, Brexit, it's made it harder to sell to Europe for sure, because obviously people are put off by the customs charges.
Yeah.
It hasn't made it harder for us to send it, but it's made it harder for the person to receive it. So we've had a few issues with that. It's got to the point where we're really struggling to sell to Ireland, because the Irish postal system seems very anti-England right now. So
understandable to some extent.
Yes, yeah. I remember we had one customer try to buy the same thing off us 3 times, and it was sent back 3 times. Even though we filled out all the correct paperwork and all the customs, they wouldn't even look at it. They just send it straight back. It's almost like out of spite. So we don't know what to do with that, and hopefully that will resolve itself. Now, in terms of touring, it has made things a bit difficult, because the bands have to fill out what's called a carney on all their equipment. So it's easier if a band can say go to Germany just on their own with their guitars and have all their back equipment all ready for them. And it's the same with the merchandise. You either try and hide all your merchandise in your guitar speakers so they don't see it at the border, or get your merchandise printed in Germany and delivered to the gig. More than that, though, I mean, so yeah, Brexit has had an effect, and it's a negative effect in terms of touring and selling. More than that, though, it's just the cost of touring, just generally, even around the UK, trying to get accommodation, the cost of fuel. It's making touring less and less appealing for a lot of these bands, because it's hard to even kind of get a fee of a couple of £100 for a tour band, because it's really sad. You'll get a pub who'll happily pay a covers band £500 to come and play a load of covers, but an originals band who've written all their own material, they don't want to take that risk, because who knows who's going to turn up. So yeah, it annoys me when I see on TV they say, "Oh, live music's booming." It's like, well, yes, it is for Ed Sheeran, it is for the big band who are charging £100 a ticket at the O2. But I could take you to a gig in where we are in Bath. You could get 4 bands, and you pay £4 on the door, and there's no one there.
No, it's the same here.
It's down to people at the end of the day. If people aren't prepared to go and try and take a risk on new music, then it is going to die on its arse, sadly. It is Brexit, and it is just the world in general, really. But I don't know. I think we're on a slump at the moment.
Yeah.
Guitar music is on a big slump, and we've been down there for a few years, and there is only one way to go, and hopefully we're going to come back round, and there's going to be a resurgence, especially in kind of popular culture.
Do you feel the same regarding AI? While I've got you, I'd love to hear your view on that. I know it's a whole new subject altogether, but do you think it's a threat or a friend?
Yeah, it's a threat. Definitely a threat. It's funny. Like I asked ChatGPT, because I'm in the band Sergeant Thunderhoof. I asked ChatGPT to write me a love song based on the work of Sergeant Thunderhoof, and it was weird. It was weird how it generated a full song, verse, middle eight, pre-chorus, chorus, and it all made sense, and it all tied into the mythos of our band. It's like, yeah, that's scary.
It's freaky stuff.
I don't like that. Now, the stuff that I think's really freaky, and I hope this doesn't happen, but I've got a horrible feeling it will. You've got these publishers. You know these deals they're doing where they're buying whole catalogs.
Yeah.
They're also buying the right to the likeness of the artist as well. Now, and the estates of these people, dead people, the estates selling the back catalogue. Now, from what I gather, that means that a record label, if they wanted, could potentially release a new song by Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
You use AI to replicate their voice and to replicate their type of lyrics, their type of riffs, and so a new song, really, and it would be officially Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, but it isn't Jimi Hendrix.
It's just not. Well, that to me is the end of civilization.
Yeah. You mentioned your band and plug away. What's Sergeant Thunderhoof up to?
What are we up to? We're doing a bit of writing at the moment. We released an album last year, which did really well, and we're trying to take it a little bit steady because it takes us a long time to write music. So all our songs are like 8, 9, 10, 12 minutes long. So yeah, I mean, we're the type of band that we're never going to be busier than we are. We don't want to gig too much. We don't want it to become a tour. We've got some loyal supporters, and we really appreciate that. But no, we're just taking it steady this year. We've got a few festivals in the summer, a few gigs in the winter, but the rest of the year is just writing. Hopefully, get another record out next year. Obviously, we're on this Budgie LP.
Yeah, absolutely.
We pulled the short straw and had to do the last song, Parents, because none of the other bands wanted to do it. But it was great. It was great. We loved doing it because that's right up our street. That a nice long song. Yeah,
it's very much Sergeant Thunderhoof, though, isn't it? Really, a long song that gives you a chance to stretch your musical legs, so to speak.
Yeah, and we've Budgie runs through our veins in this band. All of us have some kind of connection to the band, and and we don't live a million miles away from where Budgie grew up. So we've definitely got a lot of Budgie in us. So it was a delight actually to do this one.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Dan, for taking the time to talk to me in this time in the morning. Appreciate it.
All right. Hope you have a nice day.
You too, Dan, and all the best of luck with the album. Never turn your back on a friend at 50. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Dan. Cheers. Bye and take care. Speak to you again soon.
Cheers.
dead.